Honorable members, order.
Switch on the microphone. Switch on the microphone. We're rising on a point of order.
On a point of order.
The microphones must be on.
Welcome to Politics Unmuted, where our microphones are never muted and we turn up the volume on all things political. I'm Qaanitah Hunter, the politics editor for News24. Joining me today is
News24's political reporter, Lizeka Tandwa.
So Liz, it's just me and you today. We are we are podcasting from what looks like an underground bunker. Our studio is all blackened out today.
Yeah, I love the art.
Have you ever wondered what the Nkandla bunker looks like?
I don't know. I don't know. I imagine stacks of money. I don't know.
I imagine stacks of money. I imagine like these shelves, these industrial shelves with just stacks of
money and dossiers upon dossiers of everyone's life.
Liz, you've had a busy day.
I had a busy night.
No, in fact, I feel like a busy 48 hours.
Yeah, it's been rough. Thank you so much, Secretary General Ace Magashule, for
ruining our lives.
Yeah, for the long nights.
So it started off on Tuesday. You were deployed to Soweto in anticipation of Super Wednesday, which is this massive by-elections that are happening all over the country. What is it? 95 wards that are being contested. A very significant moment. In another world, this would have been the biggest topic of the week.
Oh, well, at least that's what we thought.
Oh, that's what we thought.
Yeah.
In our idealistic world. And then you go to Soweto. And where do you hear it for the first time? Do you hear it from my text message?
Yes, I got a WhatsApp message from you saying, and it was just, and I was actually quite lucky because at that point, ENCA as well as Soweto TV, my colleagues from those stations had already, concluded their interviews with the Secretary General, and I had decided that, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait it out, and let's go from door to door. I'll go with him in all these trailing these door to doors, and then
as he
at
made
some point,
empty promises,
as
right?
he made these promises to the poor community of Ward 130 in Soweto. And then you send me a biggie, a doozy. I had to, when I opened it, damn, it's Daily Maverick, and they are breaking what is we've all been anticipating, which is his imminent arrest, and it's finally here.
So obviously it's broken on Daily Maverick. We've confirmed it. We then go and get official confirmation that he's appearing in court on Friday. It's chaos in our virtual newsroom.
I'm sure it was chaos. It was chaos on desk. I can't imagine what was happening in the WhatsApp group, the editorial WhatsApp group.
So we knew that an arrest for Ace Magashule was imminent. He leaked, or his supporters perhaps leaked that information to Independent about a month ago. It was sort of any time there was, constant communication from his lawyers that was leaked to the media, and it was sort of any day. On Tuesday, the Director of Public Prosecutions in the Free State signed a warrant of arrest from the Serious Investigations Unit of the Hawks in the Free State, for his warrant of arrest. And then the news broke, and someone had to break it to him. What happened?
Well, it was quite interesting because as he's walking, conversing with community members, and I remember when you sent me that article, you sent me that breaking news. We were going into one of the houses where a gentleman, an elderly gentleman, and his wife were talking about not having IDs. The IDs were worn out, and he was busy trying to facilitate that. So I immediately gave my phone to one of Ace's closest supporters and communication liaison. And then I could see everyone scrambling in the
So
Ace
you broke it to
scam.
Ace Magashule that
Yes,
there was a warrant of his arrest.
I could see people scrambling because I was with some of my colleagues from the City Press, and shortly after that, as we approached the area where the venue, the area where he was supposed to speak, Dakota is the NEC member and is also an NWC member. He was accompanying Mr. Ace Magashule at that point. Quickly took him away from us, removed him from us, and I imagine that's when he finally found out about his arrest warrant being issued. And there was a phone call that was made shortly after that. I remember he was surrounded by his comrades, and as he was making that phone call, whispering.
But his face really...
it was telling. His face was telling. I mean, this is a person who was, he was really jovial throughout that time. He was looking forward to the by-elections. He was asking people to vote ANC. He had the manuscript when he was speaking to journalists of what he should say. He knew exactly what to say about where the ANC is, how the ANC is handling corruption. And corruption...
He slipped a few hundreds to supporters.
and he slipped a few hundreds to supporters. But when he made that call, and I imagine that he was making that call to his lawyers, it was a brief call, I'd say about 2 minutes. He came back and his face completely changed. His tone changed. His body language changed, and you could see because we actually had a discussion as journalists, which we usually do when situations when we have to deal with
and
situations
you guys are just
like
this.
this. How do we approach him? Do we? I mean, are we going to hit him with the big news? Are we going to hit him with the big question? Your reaction to the arrest warrant, or do we talk about the by-election? So we started off
soft.
Yeah, we started off soft. Let's just give him time to relax. And you could see how his body language, it was clear that he was just not in the mood to talk to us any longer. He answered questions.
He maintained his innocence.
But
then said an interesting thing around enemies from within.
Well,
right?
yeah, he did speak of enemies from within.
So
that was when he spoke to his supporters.
So this is not when he's speaking to you guys. When he's speaking to you guys, he says, I maintain my innocence. I'm going to cooperate with law enforcement. Nothing extraordinary.
Yes, nothing extraordinary. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I will cooperate. This has been coming. I knew about this. And he did convey his surprise that it came out via the media. It was leaked to the media, and he did say that you guys are always the first to know. So I'm not surprised that you guys are the first to know.
That's spicy because it sets the tone for law enforcement agencies are playing a dirty game by leaking stuff to the media.
Dakota kind of went there when he was addressing supporters. So it came to a point where he had to address supporters. Dakota, it's raining cats and dogs in Soweto, so we're standing there. We're cold. This is our job. This is what we do.
Why did you become a lawyer?
Tweeting away, sending quotes to you.
And there you have your manager on the other.
Yes.
Liz, can you file now?
So, and then that's when he finally he spoke briefly about enemies from within, and they will get them, and they know who they are, and he will expand on these enemies at a later stage. Something that, if you remember, Jacob Zuma has been singing that chorus for a long time about enemies from within, and that they know who they are.
But those enemies from within only come out when
nameless,
someone is, and also only when someone's facing arrest.
Yes,
it never exists otherwise.
Yes. I wasn't surprised by his tone and his rhetoric, and I think no one was surprised. I think that you also weren't surprised by the fact that he took it there where he said that law enforcement was being used for factional battles. We expected that kind of language to come out of him.
So as the day proceeds, we then find out that Ace Magashule is facing a warrant for his arrest in relation to contravention of Section 34 of the Prevention of Combating of Corruption Activities Act, and this was during 2014 and 2015. He was still the Free State Premier at the time. So the warrant for his arrest was granted, but there was something that Magashule and his lawyers, as well as his supporters, have been beating about for the last month, and that is about Hollywood-style arrests. So the Hawks showing up at Edwin Sodi's business place with cameras, capturing his arrests. And obviously this was going to be a bone of contention, right? This time around, the Hawks did not opt for that spectant theatre. They wrote to his lawyers and said that you need to hand over your client on Friday and he should appear before the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. Obviously, this gives the Hawks and law enforcement the ability to focus on the charges and on the case and not be focused on sideshows, because had that had happened, say the Hawks were dispatched to Soweto and Ace Magashule was leaving in handcuffs, as much as some people would have been delighted, it would have literally caused just a whole lot of drama.
That's true. I mean, the Edwin Sodi arrest kind of became a talking point, and it gave ammunition to a certain faction of the ANC, which was saying that, you know, these arrests are politically motivated, and an arrest like that would have tainted the credibility of the Hawks as well, or given rise to questions around the Hawks and whether they are playing in the political domain. So I am quite appreciative as a South African, quite appreciative of how it's been done. Also, Ace Magashule was the one, remember, when he sent a letter, or his legal team sent a letter to both the Hawks and the NPA requesting that he be alerted and he not be subjected to humiliation and embarrassment via Hollywood-style, so-called Hollywood-style arrest. So it takes away from any argument that they can make now about the legitimacy of the Hawks case or the process against Ace and the other co-accused.
Yeah. So what has happened so far in terms of the asbestos case? Now, we know 2014, 2015, there was this asbestos case, 255 million rand, given to two companies, one owned by Edwin Sodi, the other one by the late Igor Mpambane. And obviously, all evidence proving that it was a corrupt contract, no work has been done, payments were made before anything could even happen, and there were 7 arrests in October, right?
In October.
Among those who were arrested, it was one politician, which is the former MEC for Human Settlements, Olim Lamleli. It was 3 other government officials and 3 business people, as well as their businesses. So those 7 people were arrested. They appeared in court, they got bail, they appeared again today, which is when we're recording this is Wednesday, and the matter was postponed because the NPA says they're going to add accused. Obviously now we know that Magashule is going to be among
one
those
of them, yeah,
who are going to be added to the list of accused. And what's interesting is that the asset forfeiture unit had also come in and swooped, and they've seized assets. We saw Bentleys and Porsches and what else didn't you feel very poor when you see so?
I can never get rid of the picture of the Bentleys and the Aston Martins and the beautiful cars and the view that those beautiful cars have is far better than anything I could imagine for myself and my daughter. So yeah.
With corruption money, one may argue, but So that happens, and now obviously the NPA is at a point now where it cannot bungle this case. So we know that they are now sort of satisfied that those who are meant to be arrested are going to be charged. So Ace Magashule, there's going to be 2 others. It'll be interesting to see who they are. But this is now where the politics comes in, right, Liz? And so very quickly we came to hear that the top 6 of the ANC was meeting late on Tuesday evening, and there was this anticipation of now what happens when the Secretary General of the ANC is charged with corruption.
So We've been writing stories about some of the high-ranking or top ANC officials, whether be in provinces or nationally, who have either been arrested or accused of wrongdoing. So we've been writing a series of stories about what has been happening since August, when the NEC resolved.
I feel like from June.
Was it from June?
So let me track this back a bit, right? It's the end of June. It's like the 30th of June. The NEC meets. Now, this is at the time where COVID-19 corruption is all over. And then the first conversation starts. I remember because it was Eid or something. I remember it quite vividly. And the conversation started around, kids of politicians, right? And then that's spilled over into the public domain. Then there was a subsequent NEC where it was the whataboutism NEC, where if you say I'm corrupt, what about Bosasa? What about this? What about that? And there was just a whole lot of finger pointing. Then there was sort of this conversation that, okay, we need to be firm against corruption. Ramaphosa taking the lead, proposing that there should be this firm resolution that those who are accused of corruption should step aside from the party. And that takes us into August. And then at the end of August, Ramaphosa coming out. It was a special NEC, I think, where he addressed us as the media, and he said, those who are accused of corruption should step aside. The thing about the ANC is that they don't iron out the fine print, and it's always left to interpretation, so they can get away scot-free by not implementing their own resolutions, which in fact is a whole PR stance. Ramaphosa being fierce on corruption in that NEC that saw drama before it. Remember the whole thing of the Zuma letter, the Jacob Zuma letter, the call by Tony Yenge
in his call,
that Ramaphosa should step aside because of the
CR17.
Yes, the funding. And so there was all of this drama, and then the ANC comes out with a statement, and it's hailed as Ramaphosa asserting himself. But then, like what happened with VBS, like what happened with so many other scandals, it just gets lost in translation. And nobody wants to step aside. Since that decision was taken, there are people who have gotten more charges in the likes of Bongani Bongo and are still chairpersons of portfolio committees in Parliament. And the thing is, it feels like we as the media believe the ANC resolutions more than they do.
I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say.
And we look at it, Section 27.5 of the Constitution says 1, 2, and 3, and this is what the resolution of NASREC, and this is what your 2015
what did you say? What did you say on our last podcast? You said one ANC leader said to you, "Why should you believe everything we say?"
Yes,
so it's exactly.
In fact, I'm writing
exactly
a column.
that.
I'm writing my column for tomorrow, and that's exactly my thing. Is that we are believing the ANC at their own peril when they don't even believe it. The entire thing about stepping aside, I mean, it was such a topical thing not long ago, literally a month or two ago, and now for the top six to meet, and there is not even the consideration that Ace Magashule would have to step aside. It's like, in fact, what are you talking about? Almost like we don't know what you're talking about.
In fact, what actually shocked me was the DSG, which is the Deputy Secretary General, saying that they not only support him, they not only put their support behind him, they want him to be treated fairly and justly, and they don't want any bias against him, which is granted. But when you look at the ANC, and I completely agree with you, you look at the ANC in terms of its resolutions, not only just about stepping aside.
We it's talk lifestyle about audits.
Yes, where are the lifestyle audits? We talk about what they for a long time said that they wanted to give the Integrity Commission teeth. Yes. The Integrity Commission is so useless. Yeah. It doesn't have any clout. I mean, if you appear before the Integrity Commission, they don't, it's just a matter of procedure. It's not a matter where you are ready, you know that you're appearing before an institution that has
gravitas. And so the thing is that they sell it to us that the ANC Integrity Commission, hypothetically, is going to solve all our corruption problems. And this is it. This is how we are rectifying. Meanwhile, we drink that Kool-Aid and we then say, okay, what's happening in the Integrity Commission? When everyone's looking at the Integrity Commission and looking at these, old people and laughing at them, knowing full well that they themselves don't take it seriously. And so I think it's time to stop giving the ANC the benefit of the doubt, because this is not about Magashule defying an ANC resolution. This is a party that doesn't take its own resolution seriously.
That's true.
This is not about the strong man who's saying, no, I will defy. No, they just don't care enough, because one of those top 6 officials should have said, okay, guys, we have this resolution.
What do we do?
What happens?
What do we do?
You charge
do we
now?
Not? Because essentially the top 6 doesn't have the powers to decide whether that Magashule should step aside. What they should do is they should recommend it to make a recommendation or assign it to the NWC, and then the NWC will make a recommendation to the NEC, and then it gets discussed there. But I would have expected something of, I always say, just give me something where I can actually believe that I have leaders who have my best interest at heart in this country. And every time I go into a press briefing, I remember when we went into that press briefing shortly after Jacob Zuma made that shoddy apology about flouting the constitution.
Yes.
Gwede Mantashe takes us to Mutuli House.
Was it a late night?
It was 10 o'clock or something. Gwede Mantashe,
2016.
yes, takes holds a media briefing, and you came out not knowing what in the world ANC stands for.
And that was at the briefing now after the top 6 meeting, where you don't know what Jesse Duarte is saying. We're not going to go to court, but people can go to court, but we don't want the ANC to go to court. But if you're an ANC member,
we support him.
But we also don't want to be seen to be supporting him. So then,
I think if people would see our faces right now,
they'll bring us alcohol. Jokes. But it's really a fascinating play. We knew that this was going to happen. There's 2 scenarios how I see it. You can tell me if I'm wrong, Liz. The first scenario is Magashule doesn't get support from the party. He's told to go there. He mobilizes his own support. He's told to step aside. They fight it. Eventually, he has to step aside. It doesn't really do much for the ANC, because there has been these accusations against Ace Magashule for a long time. And anyways, some people argue that he was an ineffective Secretary General anyways, unlike maybe his predecessor, where, everything from the party came from his office. So Jesse Duarte steps in, carries the party for a while until his case is concluded, or until some shake-up happens in the ANC. So that's the one version. The second version is that this then creates fear among his supporters, and they then go all out to start creating this narrative that law enforcement agencies are being used for political ends, and then it creates a band of thieves who are now supporting each other. We've seen it before. We've seen it in the form of Zandile Komede and others. And what happens is they're the ones that have access to ANC branches, and at the end of the day, it's a repeat of 2005, 2006, and literally the house gets set alight as Magashule goes down. And so those for me are the 2 scenarios. I don't think that Cyril Ramaphosa emerges from this a hero. There's no way he does.
Neither do I. I think
even to his supporters.
Exactly. I think we are looking at, and I think he's caught between a rock and a hard place. My biggest worry when Cyril Ramaphosa took over and he went to the union buildings was because he took all of his resource, he took all of his manpower and took it to the union buildings, leaving Lutuli House accessible to Ace and the likes. As a result, Ace Magashule has managed to, he's been going to KZN. He still has a lot of support in the Free State. We've seen that. He seems to be trying to get support from the MKMVA because for some reason the MKMVA, he's a staunch supporter of the MKMVA.
Of that faction
of the MKMVA. Look, whatever happens, the reality is that he is not going to willingly step aside for the good of the party. That's not going to happen. He's going to, I imagine that he is going to fight as hard as he can, and the people around him who know that if he is affected, if he steps aside, they also have a lot to lose.
Yes.
Yeah, they also have a lot to lose. So that in itself will propel his supporters to encourage him to fight.
Because it's not only about, and we saw that before that NEC meeting, is that this is not about some random regional leader who's charged with corruption that they he mustn't step aside. This is about, you are effectively dismantling an entire faction of the ANC.
Someone said to me, one of the a former NEC leader said to me, and I think he painted a very bleak picture, but he said to me he foresees a split in the ANC. Those who are disgruntled, he sees if Ace Magashule is being forced to step down, those who are disgruntled, he sees that what they will do next year in the 2021 elections is to say, you know what, we're not going to participate. We're not going to mobilize. We're not going to go out and campaign. We are just going to let the ANC crumble and fall apart. And that's what essentially they have planned in areas like KwaZulu-Natal. KwaZulu-Natal, we know, is one of the biggest provinces in the ANC. And Jacob Zuma and in extension Ace Magashule still wield some support in that province.
And the reason why, this is what people must not forget, Liz, is that it's a 10-year patronage building that you built from the ground up. So it is all interlinked. That an asbestos, this is not just a random corruption deal that went down. An entire network of patronage, more complicated than a spider's web, has been sustained and growing for a decade, and therefore, you can't sort of pull out.
It's a domino effect.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. And so people are not looking at this and being like, okay, this is one guy going down. This is the entire network, and everyone's being affected. That's why you saw mayors in Gauteng losing their mind late at night. It's because this thing sets an important precedent. And the thing is, and that's why people were wanting high-profile arrests, is because once the main guy sort of gets fingered,
litmus test, yeah.
Yes, it's a sense of, okay, are they going to start coming for all of us? It also is the adverse in the sense that now it's a very good deterrent. But as I say all of this, there's one test for me, and that is the NPA cannot mess it up.
Shamila Patoi, I'm sure I'm sure she's aware of that she can't mess this one up. I mean, of all the cases that she has on her desk, this is the big one, and it's the biggest test she has of her independence. It's the biggest test she has of her authority in the NPA, and it's the biggest test that the ANC has. Will the ANC interfere in these proceedings? Paul Mashatile has said that no, we will step aside. We'll let the law run its course. But it's going to be an interesting couple of months. Yeah. It's going to be interesting for us as well, Qaanitah. I mean, we are not going to have
going to be overworked.
Sleep. We are not going to have any sleep. We have elections next year. We have this big case next year. And it's not the only case. There's Bongo. There's other arrests that we're expecting. There's people like Zandile Gumede. As you said, it's a network. It's a patronage network, and that network is somewhat crumbling. And if Batoi or Shamila Batoi is on top of that, it remains to be seen.
I think what needs to happen is that there needs to be a watertight prosecution. They need to be ready for anything. They need to know that there's going to be sideshows, but at the end of the day, the evidence will talk, and they have a history of bungling up big cases, so history cannot repeat itself. More importantly, I think that it's a very big moment in history. Ace Magashule is probably the most senior politician to be arrested for corruption in the last decade. And I think that this sets the tone for what's to come. So, Liz, me and you are going to pack our bags now. We are on our way to Bloemfontein. That's all we have for you today from all of us at Politics Unmuted. Thanks for listening. This episode was produced by my colleague Catherine Rice and recorded by Shantae Schatz. The music was courtesy of Getty Images and Epidemic Sound. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe or follow the hashtag Politics Unmuted.